Welcome everybody to Gem Collections with Shawn. I am that Shawn, and hey, first thing, Latif and I, well, mostly Latif, we have our what we call a kicker, my favorite light. So if you have seen the last few weeks some lighting that looked different or maybe not as effective, well, we should have that figured out. My favorite light back. But it's one of those lights, that gets so hot. It's really one of the original kind that the little filament, yeah, it's not one of those gas ones, breaks easy if you move them. So we had to be careful because I don't think you can get those bulbs they tell me anymore. Okay, so we have some comments. We're not doing trivia except for I have, and I meant to bring them, but I only had like 8 pieces. I have a What Am I coming up for maybe next week, and not this show, but for maybe the next show. And it's going to, it, I am wanting a perfect score, but I'm also wanting it to not be a perfect score from easy items. So, but they all are items that I've shown or that you have seen and possibly recognized or should recognize. But like I said, I was really thrown because I was counting on that Brazilianite crystal from a few shows back to be the one that would stump everybody, and I was wrong. That almost got us a perfect score. Miss Gabby had and recognized it, and then ended up buying the upgrade of the crystal. So, boy, I don't know what everybody's inventory I had, and I thought that was for certain one that I would have no one would have gotten. But well done. I enjoy doing the what am I's as well. So for those of you, if you're new to the show, what we do is we put out anywhere from 8 to 13 different specimens. They can be fasted, they can be crystals, and you just send back to Shawn at gems.com. What am I? And they're, 1 to whatever number. And we've had a lot of fun. It's very educational. And you often get to buy the items or, some of the items that you see there. Uh, so it's kind of neat. I enjoy um, participating in it from my end because I think somewhere along the line I must have been a teacher because I enjoy playing that part of furthering education. Poor Miss Raven, she cannot ask a question in the house about what something is and never get a just straight answer. Actually, the Christie, the inventory keeper, Tara, many of you may know Tara. She's a wonderful show host that does some of the prime time vendor host shows and other shows, um, what I call upstairs, in the main Gem Shopping Live show. So she had a bag of rocks that apparently maybe her and her wonderful little children had gone mining at one of those mining places that I talked about, and so she wanted to know what they were. And of course, the gemology department passed on it because they just everyone said, "Show Shawn, he will be able to tell you instantly what they are." So she did, and there was probably maybe 30 different pieces, and I stood there right at her desk, and in I don't know, just as long as it took me to pick up every one. 2, I had to do did a magnet test on, and which I always have with me, and I always have my UV light. Between those 2, you can um, really narrow down a lot of your options when people give you a bag of rocks and want to know what they all are. And so, of course, you don't ever want one left as the unknown. There was what I called 1-yard rock, or AKA a lever right there. And it was in a separate bag. So maybe that was someone testing me. They do that. And, but I think I got that one right. And all the others, you know what it was? It was a bag of corundum for, almost all but 3 or 4 pieces. And it was corundum, not, technically if it's not red, all the other colors are sapphire, right? The red ones are called ruby. But if it is of a quality that is an emery board quality, the other name for corundum, emery, and what they used to mine corundum for was for that hardness of 9. Um, these rocks, these stones are what they would have been mining for the purpose of industrial abrasive. And so um, that's what most of them were good for. There were 2 that were black sapphires. But point being, you will come across, when people know you know rocks and minerals, where inevitably you're going to get someone that will ask, "Oh, I found this rock," because they keep them. People that find unusual rocks, or maybe something is drawn to them, or maybe they went to one of these tourist places just out of doing a tourist thing. Um, and have no idea what they really have. So if they know you like rocks and minerals, you will be asked, "Oh, I don't know what this is. What is this?" And you certainly want to give them the most appropriate and best answer you can with the education. You're not guessing. Remember, you're giving an answer based on the education that you have regarding that particular species or rocks and minerals in general. And so it gets me to a point where, okay, so that was easy. I told him what everything was. I didn't play any games. But with the Raven, having been a rock hound since the age of 10, 1 year sooner than I, no, 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 no. She is not going to get a straight answer. She is going to, not a straight answer for me, but I am going to get the best answer possible from her. So I work her through the things, how you discount the items that it might be, but you can find something about them to discount. Like, let's say something should be magnetic, but it's not. Okay, so you have your magnet. It's not magnetic, so it's not whatever item you were thinking that was, which could be spessartine garnet or almandine garnet or a combination pyro almandine, which is rhodolite. So that you can really, if you get used to magnetism and how to recognize what by using it, it's a really great tool that is underused and not even part of GIA instruction. When you get your $30,000, multi-year GG, graduate gemologist, you are not taught these other methods of identification. What I call, they don't give you street cred. Street credibility, where you can literally on a street be able to identify what something is. Many a diamond deal has been done in the open street on 47th Avenue or across the counter without any other tools or equipment. Many gemstone deals are as well. So to have an easy way to have some sort of credibility is just carry a couple tools. Always in my pocket, I have a UV light, or actually, it's part of my super fancy but very inexpensive. And you can see I have taped it and worked on it. That is a regular light, a 35 power, a 60 power, 30 power, 60 power, and a UV light and regular light. All of that little thing. So a wonderful tool. Now, sometimes Raven will just say, "Just tell me." She goes, "My brain's not working right now, or I haven't had my coffee yet," and I'll give her out. But be ready. People are going to expect for you to be able to tell them what rocks are. So the "What Am I" helps you with that. Helps you be able to recognize and develop a sense of courage in saying what something is. So it was funny because I did to Miss Christie the same thing I did to Raven. She said, "Well, it kind of looks like this one piece was ruby. It was red." And I said, "Well, are you asking me or are you telling me what it is?" I said, "And I don't want any of these maybes. You say it with confidence if as to what it is." And she goes, "Well, then that said, I say it's a ruby." And then I said, "And you'd be right." And that's as easy as it is instead of these hems and haws. So a lot of people have the knowledge, they're just afraid to use it. Don't be afraid. Okay, so we have some comments. Let's get to those comments. And starting off, we have Mr. Brad in Pennsylvania. Now, I don't know what Brad does in his life. I don't know what Brad did in his life. I think he's older and he's retired. But I tell you what, he missed an opportunity to be a off-the-cuff stand-up comedian, but on a level much higher than what normal comedians face for an audience. He could probably be funny and comedic to a room full of professors, that kind of thing. So let me read to you his note. He's also very well-rounded in the ways of the 60s. So let's read this. And that's when we don't do trivia. We get time to do some other fun things, like read items like this. To Shawn, the boss lady, which is the Raven, the Christie Keeper, Latif, and Chuck. Here are some of my recent things to ponder from recent episodes. I was pondering a statement Shawn made several shows ago that amber floats. Amber floats? Or did I say something else floats? This reminded me of the witch hunt scene from Monty Python. Oh, say no more. Brad, say no more. I am sitting next to the Raven, who is the Monty Python Pete and repeat of all the shows. You name a line, and she will spit back to me a memory, a comment. What do you say when they come to pick up the dead?
Bring out your dead.
And then when the guy says, "I'm not,"
Oh no, that was when the witch turned him into a newt.
Oh, when the witch turned him into a newt.
He got better.
They said that, "What, you're dead?" And he said,
"But I got better."
But he got better with that accent. So you get to hear a little bit of voice. See, I tricked the witch into speaking. Did I say that? But she is one of those very good witches. Kind of like, my probably favorite modern witch, or at least the look is, and we actually went to the concert, Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac, and we got to see that before Christine McVie passed away. So we saw the full Fleetwood Mac, most expensive tickets I've ever paid for, but it was well worth it. And Stevie Nicks, the classic, that black outfit, with the fan blowing against her. They just recreate that whole thing, and she does Rihanna during that part, and which is about a witch. So, yeah. There's a connection there with the witches. So, reminded me of the witch hunt scene from Monty Python's Search for the Holy Grail. A mob, and if none of you, and if some of you are youngsters out there and have no idea what we're talking about, go look up Monty Python's Holy Grail. Watch it on the internet. However way you need to watch it, watch it. It is British television. Some of it has got some of the best humor you can ever imagine, and not only that show, but other ones as well. This reminded me. Okay, Search for the Holy Grail. A mob is trying to determine what things float to accuse a woman of being a witch, since witches supposedly float. The executioner asks the mob what things float. One of the rabble-rousers shouts out, "A really small rock." And he gave me a link to that part of the show. So with that in my mind, I asked myself, what other rocks float besides amber? Naturally, copal. Yes, copal, which is a young form of amber. It's really not a young amber. It's not even close to being amber. It hasn't gone through its chemical change and etc. Read about it. Let's see. Maybe pumice. Absolutely, pumice will float. Pumice, of course, is the lava rock. Now, I was at Mount St. Helens, me and my son's mother. Before we were even married, we made a trip out there. One of the greatest trips ever for all kinds of geological reasons. So we went to Mount St. Helens, and it was in 1983. So just shortly, it blew up in 1980. And for only a few years later, there was every bit of devastation that you saw that happened right afterwards. It was really amazing. But what I actually collected was pumice. And I actually mailed back pumice. Because we were flying back, and so I wanted some Mount St. Helens pumice. And that's just me. That's what I do. And I was 21 years old then, 22. Wow, a lifetime ago. Couple life generations ago. And so I have this whole box of Mount St. Helens pumice. So yes, if there is enough aerated holes in it, then it will float. Pumice does float. So a pure piece of lithium that would spontaneously combust and scoot around like a water bug. I see, Mr. Brad, that you have been playing with your chemistry set, or in high school or college somewhere, because lithium that's why you have so many batteries being such a problem. Lithium is very volatile in its pure form. So, and really, let's see, small rocks float on the surface tension of the water. Yeah, you can get like a piece of mica. You can take a piece of mica. So there's another item, is a thin cleaved section of a mica crystal will absolutely float on the surface of water. because of the water tension. And well, there's lots I could talk about that, but about the capillary action of, like, if you put a uh, straight, let's say a piece of wood, like a toothpick, into water, the bead of water will not actually bead up right at the very end of the toothpick. It'll draw it back just a little tiny bit. Now, when I'm trying to apply a specific type of cements to certain lapidary projects, I use a broken saw blade, because those I'm talking about a jeweler's saw blade, those really small blades that saw sheets of gold, etc. Those little well, in a saw blade, the little notches of the blade, okay, that are real fine, you use a broken blade, they will actually hold. This is actually a tip I'm giving to all of you, whether you're applying water to something or whether you're applying a two-part epoxy or a super glue, something like that, and you need pinpoint accuracy. So a broken saw blade, if you have one, or a new one, but you have to use where the serrated blade part is. Those blades will catch the glue or whatever it is and hold it right at the very tip of the blade. If not, if you don't have that, then the capillary action will, it's a physics thing, will pull that little bit of material away from the tip, causing you trouble in applying it right where you want it to be. So anyway, that is all is involved in kind of some of the same physics here. Another improvement idea for pricing items: since prime numbers are a bit hard to keep track of for setting prices, I thought some alternative numbers for cool prices would be appropriate in honor of the Ravens specimens. Perhaps call the numbers the Deadhead 11. The Grateful Dead had a song called The 11 written in it, in an unusual 11 8-time signature. I know right now, if you know that, then you have to tell me, Brad, you have something to do with music, because I took one little, in 8th grade, some music class, and I remember about time. But I had never heard of an 11 8-time signature. That would be most unusual. But if anyone would do that, it would be the Grateful Dead, who, for those of you that don't know, the Raven, as part of her life's experiences, was a true last of the true deadheads that follow the Grateful Dead around, and she'd make these little silver necklaces and turquoise necklaces and sell them sitting out, with her little hippie outfit on before a show, and raising enough money to get to the next show. Even been a song about doing that, getting to the next show, and so she did that and has many great memories from it. And she knew the song straight away. So the numbers in the lyrics. So listen to this. If you ever wondered about Jerry Garcia and some of his, and Bob Weir, some of the musical ramblings and writings of the Grateful Dead, much of it at different times infused by taking recreational substances that might have inspired them to write some of these lyrics. So with the numbers that we can use in pricing: 8-sided whispering hallelujah hat track, 7-faced marble eye transitory dream doll. Yeah, these are lyrics. 6 proud walkers on Jingle Bell Rainbow. 5 men riding in fingers of gold. I like that. 4 men tracking the great white sperm whale. 3 girls wait in a foreign dominion. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 11. Which number to select? I would lobby for 11. 11 may be a bit difficult to use for setting a price, so the simplest thing to do would be to end the price with $1.10. That gives you 11, or 11 cents. For example, the world famous Uvarovite Raven has would sell for XXX.11. In other words, an unknown amount and 11 cents, or perhaps a price with double head 11 in it. That would be 11 times 0.11, 11. That gives you $1.21. So if the Raven approves, I'm hoping for some of our super goodies with the Deadhead 11 pricing. Anything to honor the Grateful Dead. I'm also wondering if you have some Mercedes calcite specimens for sale. Wow. I'm going to explain those to everyone in a little bit, but the quick and short answer to that would be no. I think you already, was it you that bought that incredible multicolor, I think it was UBI, China chalcopyrite on calcite. Layered. Stunning piece. and after seeing pricing on that kind of material, someone made a really good purchase by way of, well, not to use the investment word, but it certainly could be used for that. In regard to your discussion concerning the abundance of Canadian black flies with Miss Penny, decades ago the foliage was destroyed downwind of the Sudbury nickel processing plant. And I can tell you from a city they call Ducktown. This is it straddles Georgia, North Carolina, and Tennessee kind of area up there, and Coppertown and Ducktown. And when I first had to move up for my senior year from Sarasota, Florida to Cleveland, Tennessee, I had a 240Z at the time. I wish I had that car back so badly. And we decided to take the back way into Cleveland, Tennessee. And doing so took us through the Ducktown and Coppertown, which was a copper mining and smelting place, which puts out sulfur dioxide. It looked like a moonscape. My younger brother and I, who was like 15 at the time, we were ready to turn around and head back to Florida because everything, now mind you, this is 40 years ago, everything was dead. All vegetation, all life. It would be like if rain, it made acid rain, but in this case, it was sheer vapors to do that kind of destruction. So, of course, over the decades, they cleaned it up, improved upon it, and you can't recognize it for what I saw it as. And wow, it really made an impression upon me that you have to be careful in putting heat to Mother Nature's items sometimes to extract the elements out of them. Can do a lot of damage. So let's read on. The foliage was destroyed downwind of the Sudbury nickel processing plant. I am thinking that the bugs there would also be absent. However, recent efforts are in progress to restore the foliage, so I'm guessing the bugs will also return. Sudbury, interestingly enough, is the impact site of a large nickel-bearing meteor, hence a significant source of the world's nickel supply. Stay cool if you go out looking for gold. Take an inner tube with you and a fishing rod. Float down a lazy river, and you might catch a rock bass. Good use of that, as there is such a thing as a rock bass, and being a fisherman, I know that as well. So great humor, great input there, Mr. Brad, and I have to find out a little bit more is what driving your level of intellect, because yeah, you got some smart stuff in there. And I like hearing about even destruction that mines cause, and there is always a price to pay ecologically in the mining industry. Right now, I put some of my interests monetarily into a antimony stock, which is one of the critical minerals. There's only one smelter in the United States, only one in Mexico. Company has both of them. Stibnite, and I'm collecting antimony ores as part of the fund, being interested and invested in this company. So I picked up a new one called Jamesonite. So Jamesonite, looking kind of similar, but look it up because it is the first one of its kind I have of the antimony. Let me see. So when you think about putting money into rocks and minerals, one of the greatest things I could have done was to have done what I have done and collected all these over the years and not put the money in a bank or elsewhere, because I think I have gotten a better return and a better enjoyment being able to, when you go to sell or trade in a CD, how boring, right? To get your money back that you put in years ago, to get out a few bucks in the end extra over it. To get my return, I get to be with all of you. I get to do all of this. Yep. Love my hobby, love my profession, and love all of you. Miss Cindy in Pennsylvania. We got several people from Pennsylvania. A lot of rock hounds up there. Hello, rock family. That was a great show. Lovely specimen. By the way, yeah, that's where Mr. Brad is from, is Pennsylvania. That was a great show. Lovely specimens. I adore the Crystal Praise owl. The owls in my neighborhood have a party every night. We enjoy it. We back up to 25,000 acres of the Dawson Wildlife Management Area, and that's why I told you the bear story just last week. And owls every night, and then a whippoorwill. Unfortunately, the whippoorwill actually goes on the days we're not getting up early. He gets us up early anyway because he sits right outside. They are really difficult to spot. But I love, it was my mom's favorite bird. She loved the sound of a whippoorwill in the distance. I love hearing the owls. One in particular has a unique call that sounds like Cheetah from the old Tarzan movies with Johnny Weissmuller. My dad, being a champion Florida swimmer, actually met Johnny Weissmuller before. And I grew up watching Tarzan, the original Tarzan. My favorite was Johnny Weissmuller. And no one compared after he quit playing that role. And so, yeah, I know Cheetah, Boy, and Jane. And every Saturday morning would get up early just to watch Tarzan. So that's a great analogy to use that, because I know what Cheetah sounds like perfectly. One of the things I like to use as display stands are hematite rings. I like the look of them under my smaller items. That's a great idea, actually, for spheres, by the way. So, Miss Cindy, thanks for passing that along. And that's the other good thing comments can be used for, is giving everybody else some helpful hints. So we had a great one from Brad. And then now for ring bases, because I always talk about, I don't give away bases or stands much because they cost money, and there's really not any money I'm really making to do that, even though today I'm going to give away some stands on some items. But lots of education can be gotten from these kind of comments. So good suggestion there, Miss Cindy. Hot weather is on the way, so air conditioning was put in today. We've had 60 degrees and rain for a week. Next week high is 90s. Take care, one and all. Miss Cindy in South Central Pennsylvania. Yes, we're getting actually 94 coming up as well. But the high in the last few days have been like low 80s, which has been really nice for where we are in this time of year. But the 90s are coming here as well. For you, just to be putting air conditioning now, wow. It'd been nice for me to get a break from the other month, which I had an over $600 electric bill. Yeah. Okay, Miss Barbara says, hi, Professor Shawn, Raven, GSN crew, and the whole Rock family. Edgy Gemstones, good name. I think I got that blue sapphire with actual color only at the Culet a while back. Cool effect. Yes, I do believe it was you, Miss Barbara, along with that two-tone ring. So you are the collector of my edgy gemstones for certain. Let's see if freeing up time gets your item level up so we can get to see a new grill in your smile. Let's hope. The preciousness of Podparacha has led to centuries of tricks to upgrade pink sapphire. If you missed last week's show, you may want to watch it because I did a little segment and sold actual sapphires that I would consider pink, but I sold them alongside two other sapphires that, if I called the ones pink, what do you call the other two? Which have an absolute orange secondary color. By definition, it would be a Podparacha. I don't know how it could be anything else. So even though they're not certified, but in comparing, it leaves no other place to go but for that description of color for it to be a Podparacha, in my opinion. Cutting shallow pink stones takes advantages of how Caucasian skin will impart an orange tinge to a ring stone on the hand when viewed through a window. Very true. And setting in yellow gold also juices up the orange look. I'm thinking of the Van Cleef Invisible setting on gold wires for that one. Buyer, be aware. Sadly, the subtle differences of your comparison set didn't translate well on the TV screen. That would be sadly. My monitor, they did. They look pretty good. But in person, whoever gets those, I think one set sold. There's another set with the bigger stones available for the same price, $98. When you see them in person, it's unmistakable, the difference. Unmistakable. Belated happy Father's Day to all. A summer heat wave is due here in the Big Apple this coming week. Not looking forward to hiding in the AC. Be well, Miss Barbara from Brooklyn. And with a happy Father's Day wish to all. And being today, happy Juneteenth to everyone as well. Federal holiday. So things were rearranged a little bit differently here schedule wise, but we're still able to do the show. Next week, I'll have to let you know. Might be a little iffy. We got some other compromised issues, but we're hoping to get the show in. Let's see. Be well. Barbara from Brooklyn. Miss Gabby in Florida. A short note to say hello to the GSN Rock family. She starts off with the same thing. I am glad you brought up the Padparacha conversation. It is one I have had with fellow gem lovers over the years. Can't believe the colors that get certified as Padparacha. I even have what I would consider straight orange certified as Padparacha. Makes me wonder, and that's all I have to say about that. And I know exactly what you're wondering. Same kind of wondering I am, but it's one of those wonders that we'll keep to ourselves. Been dodging thunderstorms here in the Panhandle. Unlike you and Raven, she just can't like it. Wow. Especially when they are right on top of me, making the house vibrate and power go off and on. No thanks. Stay well, all, Miss Gabby. Miss Gabby, you are in the Panhandle, right? You're talking about sand, right? You're talking about lightning, right? That makes fulgurites. I mean, that's mining. Every time a lightning bolt you hear, you can go track it down, go trace it down, find the fulgurite. Here, I mentioned we had lightning the other day. We had a bolt of lightning. There was no rain around, no nothing. And this is why they say wait 30 minutes after a thunderstorm passes, because of lightning worries. It can be, a distance away from the storm. The storm had long since passed. This bolt of lightning, we happened to be next to each other. I was doing some work, research work. That bolt, it had to have been like right off the corner of the house. It sent this motion straight up out of the bed. It felt like, wow. It was, it was a very cardio. It was a cardio exercise. That's what it was. Yeah. It was loud, but I said to Raven, I said, now, I'd go out and look for that fulgurite that might have made, because what you can do around here, a lot they hit trees, of course, and you can see, especially pine trees, they'll split the tree all the way down. So you can follow that bolt of lightning as it peels back the bark and into the tree, all the way to the base of the tree. And they still have plenty of energy to go. And so you never know what it might make. Around here, the only thing it would make is it would bake the clay into something hard. It would not make any pretty little fulgurite like you can find in Florida. Anywhere lightning strikes a sand dune or something cool like that, right? All right, just keep it in mind, because there's not many other places to mine in Florida. We talked about the Withlacoochee River for the most amazing agatized coral in the world. The Ballast Point coral is gone. Tampa Bay coral, no more. But there's something else that Florida mines, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I'm going to show you something that relates to it. So, Miss Gabby, you're right. The Padparacha thing I have seen really surprising. And that's why I call those sets edgy gemstones, because if you call one pink, the other can't be pink as well. There's that big of a difference in color that has to be, what, pink orange, orange pink. Either way, it's Padparacha. But unless you have stones to compare other ones to, you really don't know. Because if you just have a pink sapphire and it's certified as Padparacha, well, if you don't have another comparisons kind of on either side to see if there is orange in it, then yeah, you have to leave it to other people's opinion. I like to trust things like that to what my eyes can actually see, and not some typing on a cert. Just my opinion. I could tell another story about a certified red diamond. Everybody would like to hear about this story, but I'm not going to tell it, because it is one of those things that, well, and if you want a pink diamond now, a red diamond or whatever you want, they can make. I saw, and because it frustrates me to see what the diamond industry has done to itself by creating so many lab-grown diamonds that the price of them has just plummeted. And you can have any size diamond you want. She showed me a picture of a diamond ring. This was a ring. It probably looked like maybe a size 10. It was probably a good 3-4 millimeters thick. The entire ring was a diamond ring. In other words, it was cut out of a diamond crystal. So, for it to be the diameter of a size 10 man's ring plus the thickness, the crystal had to have been much larger. So it's like, what size do you want? What color do you want? Also next to it was a block. It was a crystal block of pink diamond rough that you could have cut, probably a 20 karat pink diamond out of. And then she showed me another one, a 80, no, it's a 97 karat black diamond. And the person didn't state whether it was genuine or not, but they stated the price of, $80,000, which is at a retail price that you mentioned. So you start cutting the price back of that, and naturally, it was so perfect. It looked like what she and Raven had it right. It looked like a hemalike. Hemalike is the synthetic version of hematite, the iron ore, right? So they've long since made hemalike, is what I nickname it, fake hematite. And none of you would know. You could have bought fake hematite, man-made. And this diamond looks so perfect that the way carbon is in natural diamonds, it would never have looked that way. So it just is, they're even making black diamonds, basically. So they're just so bored with making the regular white ones. GIA has changed it to where you can't get a DEF color certification. They just put it as a, I think it's like the finest grade, or, just blocking out, because all of them are coming out almost perfect, almost flawless, and perfect top white color, DEF. So why get so specific when you're grading something worth so little, is, I think, GIA's view on it. And the price is nowhere but to go down. A shame. I could go on about that, but we'll stop there. Okay, so those are the comments, and without trivia, that ends that. But some really great things to explore here, including items that float in the rock and mineral world. And yeah, lots of neat things. So I like that. All right. And with that, we can go straight to the first item of the show. First item of the show we have is a Brandberg Namibian phantom amethyst. Now, they're well known for their phantom amethyst. Now, if you're not seeing a phantom at this point, well, that's probably intentional. I just kind of turned it that way to show you what a nice crystal form it is, including, I like, let me get a pointer here. I like the amethyst actually dropping down into that level here, but here is what it is showcased for. Look at this as I give it some backlight. Look at that. Look at that really well-defined phantom of amethyst. And that's formed as the crystal grows, depending on what impurities are available in the quartz at the time, can make it amethyst. And then you get a layer of clear quartz over it, and it can repeat itself multiple times. This is just a really nice large crystal, and has a very showy phantom to go along with it. So a really wonderful specimen piece. All right, I'm going to try to get to a lot of items today. I could always talk and look at these for so much longer, but we're going to move on, especially when this is only for you right now. $27, only $27. You missed it, Chuck, Mr. Brad's new system of pricing things. It's from the Grateful Dead song 11, the 11, the different numbers, and yeah, quite interesting. So that piece is only $27 here. Look how large that is in my hand. So if you are a quartz or amethyst collector and don't have a Brandberg in your collection, then you're missing out, and you need one. Let me show you the bottom, by the way. You can see that this is straight off of where it would have been attached to the matrix, but you also have some little crystallization along here as well. And some other development here. Makes me wonder that this might have broken off of the matrix, and then this is a secondary growth, it looks like, on top of it. Always room for to explore. Now, let me show you. We're going to go from that to a amazing, very beautiful and rare collector item. 1270025. 1270025. Now, may take Chuck a moment to be able to get the lighting on this bad boy just right, but look at this. Look at this jewel. This is one of the world's finest, organic gemstone. Organic meaning something like a pearl is organic, meaning it comes from a mollusk. This This is beautiful. Remember the ammonite last week I featured? And I showed you it was also had ammolite. Ammolite being the recognized gemstone. Look at this. Now, and as we turn this, look at those colors. Now, here is, as you notice, this is almost all blue and purple. Blue and purple are the rarest colors. And then you get into green. If this continued, and if, let me show you the side view of this. This is what is really rare about this piece, is it's got a natural surface. In other words, so many of these, you have to really watch. They have a thick coating of resin over them. This is just a, probably a single coat, maybe 2 coats of a applied, it's like a resin type of, I don't want to say epoxy because it's not an epoxy type form, but you can see it on the outside and then you can see it here where it isn't. It gives you that wet look, but what is unique about this is so many of these are fake. And I mean truly fake. And one time a vendor that I used to, when I started here, I actually went to a show with him and he had picked out some of the specimens. And I said, look at this one closely. I said, this one has aluminum. He went back to the dealer and the vendor, and after he haggled with them a little bit, they admitted that, yeah, they thought that that looks like that too, and undid the sale on it. It was so creatively done, but it was done underneath a dome of quartz. So it was like a triplet, and it was colorized aluminum. You could see by the reflection how you could take a piece of aluminum. You see how it looks like crumpled aluminum? And if you colored that aluminum and then put a cap of quartz over it, well, first you put a cap of resin over the aluminum, and then put a cap of quartz, you can create a very similar look. It is amazing how clever and the lengths that people will go to deceive and to rip you off. So that's why I put natural surface on that, because that is really rare. Now, if you look carefully, you can see that in an opal, at least, there's usually a thick enough color bar that you can see how much your depth you're working with for where the color is. And if you cut through it, it's gone. This is such a thin layer. Now, why the blues and the purples are so rare, and this piece actually demonstrates that, because you have greens here and none down here. The dispersion of the light is created by depending on how thick this actual layer of aragonite. So it is the light diffracts through different layers of aragonite, the way aragonite grows, creating that look. Now, the thinner the aragonite layer is what gives you the purples and the blues. But because it is so thin, it seldom survived the process of being crushed under tons of dirt and over time. The thicker the layer is what gives you your other colors, mostly your reds, your oranges, and then as it gets thinner, you get into the greens and then back into the blues. So if you were to actually measure the thickness of that layer, you can actually see it a little bit. That you can actually see where the green is. It's actually a little bit thicker than where the blue is. The thicker layers, of course, survived because they were thicker. And so hence, yes, it gave you the beautiful reds and oranges, but the condition of them is usually a lot better and less fractured looking. But when they get to a really neat pattern of what looks like little fractured squares and whatnot, it can be called lizard skin or dinosaur skin as far as a description of the pattern, and it's worth more. It's worth more because it's additionally more rare. So you see some of that in here, but not enough to call it all. I have had pieces before, and I have seen pieces like this called lizard skin, but this one, I wouldn't call it that. Now, you can see this is a stunning item, gem quality. You could saw this into a thinner piece, drill it, and have an amazing pendant just the way it is. You can make it into a couple of pieces. It's so large. It is such a nice, large display item. And it's so special that my cheapskate self is even going to give a stand away with this. I know. Wow, Chuck. Wow. That was sarcastic indeed. So, and of course, we have Latif back there loving it. Just loving it. Wishing he had said that. Oh, these guys give me a hard time. Really do. But it's all in love and fun. Look at that piece. Look at that. That is amazing. 70 million years old. The regular Madagascar, I had this balanced just right. Let's see. So that's flipping it around the other way. So let me show you. I think I have them out here if I can spot it quickly. Yeah, here it is. Okay, now you're going to get to see this next, but I'm not going to give you the item number, but I'm just comparing it. All right, so what you're looking at here is what a complete ammonite looks like. And then you can see the reds here, which is the gem ammonite. And you can see it over here as well. Now, these aren't polished, but you could easily polish it up. Aragonite's a hardness of, 2.5 or 3, like calcite. So this is from a much larger one. As you can see, to create that much color, it would have to be a much larger one. But this is the creature that it comes from. This is Madagascar. And the others, of course, are from Canada. And where they are in Alberta, if you're not familiar with Canada, you wonder, well, how it takes the ocean to get those, right? Yeah, there's a huge inland sea across the United States into Canada at one time. And that's where you get all these middle of the country marine specimens. Look at that angle. That particular angle shows absolutely everything. That shows all the color in one face. So let me just lean it in a way, if I could recapture that. And so at home, you create a stand, even though you'll get this stand, but create a stand that you could leverage that just exactly the way I want it to be. And I'm going to spend the rest of the show getting, there you go. There, good enough. You get the idea. Take the time at home to do it right. So you get to see the animal that comes from. And anyway, price on this material is very expensive. I'm just going to tell you that straight away. When you get the good blues and one of that quality large enough, that's just made for a display specimen. That is gem quality. You could cut stones of great value out of it and easily make your money back. Well, you're making money on the buy, keep the specimen as it is, because I had this a long time. And material like this is expensive and getting more expensive. Remember, it took 70 million years. There's not any more that are going to come out. And they only come from one really small area and deposit and at these certain depths. And there's a huge amount of overburden that has to be removed. Then on the large plates, they actually, when they find them, they actually squirt the entire surface with super glue. It's an amazing process to bring out those whole pieces of the Alberta material and what they go through to keep it together like that. Not all of them. The less you have to do for preparation of them, the more valuable they are. But often they look better prepared. So there's a whole science to that. So anyway. Here is an outstanding opportunity. If someone wants to get in on, look how big this is in my hand. Look at that. Look at that. This is only $148. Yeah, I know. $148. The value that would cut is, well, even the value as it is, but in a gemstone that large, that would be a very inexpensive opportunity for someone to get in on something that is, you can cut that one. It's just blue. And in this case, versus like opal, red's the valuable color, right? In this case, the less red, the better. Even though some red and blue might look good, if all blue is a more rare of a stone. Blue and green, it's more rare of a look. Just like if you had a Slaughter Mountain fire agate, and that fire agate, we know the purple and blues are the rarest color in fire agate. Would you prefer one all blue and purple, or one that had some red in it and orange or yellow that are the more common colors? Personally, and in my opinion, the more valuable would be nothing but the pure purple and blue in that type of piece. Red doesn't add any real value, in my opinion, like an opal would. If you have an opal that is just all that primary color red, yep, that's a valuable color. Well, it is not worth as much as if there is red interspersed with the other colors of opal, if not the whole spectrum of it. That becomes the most valuable piece overall, then versus one that is flashing nothing but red. In this case, if it flashes nothing but blue or purple, you've got a nice gem. Those multicolored ones you don't see often, and it's almost always overpowered by red, and you're hunting for the blue and purple, which is not usually what I like to do. Price on this only $148. Take advantage of it. Now, let me show you the next piece, which I gave you a glimpse of, which will help you understand any other parts of it that. All right, item 127, 1225. 127, 1225. And coming up, let me show you. Here is number one. And then let me, yeah. Yeah, let me just get another stand and I'll get my eyes back on this guy. Where it is. Here we go. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe I'll throw it. No, I don't know if I can on these. Price is pretty cheap. All right, so here is a matched pair of them. And now, let me talk about these. You can see the wonderful polish. So these have been polished. The outside of these have not, even though many of them you do see them. You can either do a spray polish. Here is one of the neat things to this piece to me that adds, that's a bonus, is oftentimes you get sediment from the ocean, the water, whatever, that fills in the inner part of the coil. Well, sometimes it's a distraction, other times it's really cool. And in this case, it's really cool. You actually have little tiny shells, so additional fossilization from other creatures. Now remember, underneath this outer layer, you can see some of the layer missing right here. This is the layer the ammonite lies in. And if you get past it, you actually end up seeing the sutures, seeing those, there they are right there. So this is also educational type piece when you can see all the parts. Those sutures and how they are patterned is what helps scientists determine the different types of ammonites. This is really heavy on beautiful red in the ammonite. And of course, the red is the gem, ammonite. Here's another, the other side to it. And this is not a break, because if it was, you would see it coming through on this side. So it's not, it's just a fracture. That's all. There's a difference. It doesn't go all the way here. Look at all the beautiful red in this. And so you can see it's the more common color. You don't see any blues coming through. If you did, it would, I probably wouldn't be holding it. Something else would have been done with it. Now, the neat thing is these are all filled with calcite, and it's fluorescent calcite. Beautiful, beautiful yellow to chartreuse type of fluorescence. And they're normally open pockets where what's called a siphuncle goes through them all, and the member of the cephalopod family, the ammonite, can control its buoyancy through the water by controlling the amount of air or water in these pockets. But in the fossilization process, they fill in. In the very middle here, you can see just some sedimentary material, but then the calcite starts filling in as it's fossilized. when it is completely filled in, you get this. You get to see the crystals intergrown with each other. But if it doesn't grow all the way together, you get open areas that have the visible calcite crystals in them and fluorescence all on this. Now, remember this little end, when these two are together, this is where the little tentacles come out, making it a cephalopod related to nautiluses and to octopus family and the squid family, um, along those lines. So on this other piece, you have the chambers almost all filled in, but there's still a couple that have the crystals. Look at that. You can actually see the crystals in that pocket. That adds value to it because it just helps explain what is going on and what happened with these others. You can see now. Yeah, isn't that cool? Isn't that really cool? Yeah, that's really neat. So it helps explain when you see these, you can see the calcite crystals just kept growing until they grew into each other. And so this tells a story. These are generally, all of them were wiped out with the big wiping out of the dinosaurs, the Chicxulub meteor. But most of these on average are about 100 million years old, and the ones in Canada are around 70 million years old on average. So I think you could easily find a stand to go with those. Look at that pattern. Look at that symmetry. That is nature 100 million years ago. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Get your holes in those and have you a nice pair of dangle.
There you go. Some dangle earrings. Actually, she does have, the Raven does have some dangle earrings with ammonite, because they actually get smaller than a diamond in size. They get really, really small, and they get up to 6 feet in size. Yeah, they're really huge. But this is a beautiful addition. If you get this, you should get these to go with them to help explain this. It would make sense, at least to me, the storyteller, the educator. Yeah, price on that pair is probably less than it should be, especially with all that red. So anyway, let's make that pair of them, and I'll throw in those stands. Only $58 for. Yeah, I know. I had them a long time. I don't know what they would even cost now. I don't even know. I've had these for a long time, and I had them and kept them because they had everything I wanted to teach about this is evident in this pair. Everything from the closed pockets to the open ones where you can see the crystals, the sediment that can fill them in versus the calcite, the ammonite part, and then you can see where the shell chipped off part. Well, that's intentional. I wanted that because that tells you what lies underneath, which are the sutures. And you can see right here those suture lines, which is the other part of the story, and that lies underneath this part. And then the additional fossilization there. This has all the education in this pair that you need to understand fully what goes on in an ammonite. Yeah, they are really cool. What a beautiful set. This is, were some that I liked for that reason, for the reasons just shown. Look at that. Beautiful. Only $58. Now, yeah, beautiful. And, did I say I was going to include the stands? Okay, I can't take it back. Okay, I'm going to include the stands, which is really something I don't do. Miss, I'll let you put that. Oh, Kettler. Okay. Now, next, I am going to take you down one more fossil lane, and this is back to what is known as the Pennsylvanian period. This is item 127, 1025. 127, 1025. And, wow. Okay, picture of time when there were 6-foot centipedes, literally 6-foot centipedes roaming the woods. There was nothing but insects, if there were those, depending on what part of the period. Mostly, it could also maybe be called the Carboniferous period. They break it down into some different. Oh, that's not the right one I wanted to use. Here we go. And I am including the stands on this, on these. So let me show you these. Did I give you the item number yet? 1, 2, 7, 10, 25. Yep. Oh, I didn't even look up. Sorry. And then let me put this in. Here we go. Here. And that's why these stands were so specific to hold these. I'm going to include them. All right. Now, years ago, I had quite a few of these, but I sold them. Rightfully so. And now what you have left are the ones that I found special for one reason or another. And so these, look at 300 million years old. Now, it gives you an idea of how fast or slow evolution moves, because at 300 million years old, there's a lot of things that were different than a 100-million-year-old ammonite. 300 million years old, it puts it at a time when the earth was mostly green plants, putting off oxygen. That's how the oxygen got built up into our environment, was through what the amazing things plants can do, which is release oxygen. And I had many different ferns, fossils of these, and this is a Neuropterus, and they're from the world famous Mason Creek deposit in Illinois, of all places. In Illinois, I know. And this pair is an exceptional quality, and it even comes with a label. So the Paleozoic era, Mason Creek. Now, what makes these especially unique is that they have been prepared, professionally prepared, not like Shawn prepared. All right. And they are amazing. These are concretions. So what will have happened, that leaf will have gotten and landed into a environment that immediately the oxygen was cut off. And then, let's say, a layer of mud developed around it. All right, solidified, and the process continues, creating a concretion. That's a simple version of it, but concretions are formed in different ways. And let me show you from the outside. You can see some of the different layers of mud. And if these were in a creek, Mason Creek, you could see maybe a flood came by, additional mud was washed down. And with concretions, there's a process that happens that allows them to form on top of the previous deposit. It can be everything from electron attraction, many different things, like I said, can form concretions. But these were super unique, because if you broke them just right, they would split along the lines of the fossil. Now, which was, leaves or ferns. They weren't animal fossils during this time period, so much as it was plant life. This is so amazing because most everything that would split was flat. Look at how this had to split. Look at the curve in the leaf. Look how that leaf drops. How in the world? That was one lucky split. And we've seen splits from everything from opals and now to something like this. That has to be just perfect. Let me show you then also, if you can see, you can actually see the veins, that the fossilization of it was so well preserved that you can even see the veins in the leaf that, of course, we see today and feeds the leaf. You can see the stem here coming away from it. This is a fantastic split pair of Neuropterus with the label and the stands. I'm going to throw in these stands. And I know I'm a cheapskate. Well, these things cost over $1 each. Yeah, ones like that. So, you know, when you're working on a little profit, that can make a difference, believe it or not. Look at that. Isn't that just, that's BA, man. That is just really, really beautiful. And if that leaf could speak, if it could go back in time 300 million years ago. So remember, this is Illinois. And so the earth and plants, this is where we got all the oil and natural gas, was from the decaying process of 100 million years of plant growth, layer upon layer, which as it was covered over and sunken into the earth by geologic actions and more pressure applied, though that carbon that was in all that greenery was converted into what we know today, and why the term is used, fossil fuels. Have you ever wondered why you hear it said like that? Fossil fuels. It's because all that coal, oil, natural gas, every bit of it came from a fossil, came from an existing organic carbon-based life form, because fossil fuels are carbon-based. And that's why now, and you know, the Pennsylvanian period I mentioned, you have so much coal across those states. You have, you know, coal mining that's going on from Kentucky, Illinois, West Virginia, uh, and it is because of plant life long since compressed and buried in the earth, that when there's enough of it, like a swamp, millions of years of it, you're going to end up. Have you ever been in a swamp and see the swamp burp? I have been in with a canoe. I have been in many places. You can find it in the go up a creek in the backways of Lake Lanier. Go up into where the water doesn't move much, or there's not a creek that in the back of the cove that's flowing into it, and you sit there quietly in a canoe, and methane gas will burp up from you might see a bubble, you might think it's a fish or something. No, many cases it's just the earth and the gas being released from, you know, 1 or 2 feet, 3 feet deep, sunken in the back of the cove. And I used to have a house on Lake Lanier, so I was in the back of a cove, shallow water cove. So I saw algae building up on the branches, like you saw in the blue forest petrified wood. So I could relate and understand that. I see the methane gas bubbling up from fossils, what would be fossils, basically organic matter. Methane, that's a natural gas. And so, of course, there's a lot of different gases that are produced, and can be like propane, and all these, you take one and they can separate and make and create others. But natural gas is the process of decomposition, and in the long term, fossilization, because that gas gets trapped down way deep into the earth. So I'll go into one more subject. So that gas gets trapped down in the earth as it's being released, let's say from a coal deposit, or maybe it's being released from a oil deposit, which is often the case. And if you've ever traveled out west and seen across Texas, especially at night, you can see the wellheads just being burned off, where they just burn off the methane or the natural gas from the deposit, because they're not mining for it. They're mining for the primary crude oil. Some recover. Most of the time, it's not enough to mess with, so they burn it off. Not good for the environment, but it has to go somewhere so the whole place doesn't blow up. So that's what's going on there. And it's called natural gas for a reason. It is naturally being created just as it is from the decomposition of organic matter. And so it is that organic matter that with time, and why it can be buried so deeply with geological action covering it over, but it traps the oil and it traps the gas. Fracking, that big famous word that only came about not too long ago as a new kind of word, is where they take that rock and they break it up, basically. And we won't get into the process of it, but that's a whole another thing I could talk about. What it does is it breaks up the earth and it releases that gas, and that's why we have become such a huge producer and exporter of fossil fuels, is because of the technology of fracking and what it does to, good or bad, to the geology beneath our feet. Anyway, this is an amazing pair, and I'm offering these both. Wow, for only, with the stands, for only $88. Only $88, and that is a exceptional opportunity, because for a couple of reasons. Again, they're not just straight and flat. That makes it rare. The veins, that type of leaf actually is more rare variety than some of the others. So take advantage of that one and grab it. All right, let me take a 1 moment break here so I can get those put up, and I'll be right back. Old material here. I have had this piece for a long time. So we were just talking about the Pennsylvanian period. Well, this piece is from Pennsylvania. That's as close as I can get to relating back to it. It's not a fossil, but what it is, normally in the United States, for some of the finest wavelite in the world, it comes from Arkansas. Yeah, Arkansas. Arkansas is kind of unusual. It's kind of a mountain system in the middle of the country. You know, you go north of that, it goes flat into Oklahoma and whatnot. And south of that is the Gulf of Mexico. And you have the flat states along the coast, you know, Mississippi, Alabama, northern Alabama's mountains. But Arkansas just stands out as this, you know, the only, and also holds the only kimberlite pipe in the contiguous United States for, you know, diamonds there. So it's a really unique place. Produces beautiful wavelite. But what came first was the National Limestone Quarry #2, Pennsylvanian wavelite. And wavelite is an incredibly wonderful mineral, and it can produce really unique patterns. This has one of the most unique patterns that is very visible for wavelite, because what you're seeing is both looks of it. Because look at these, see these spheres, these botryoidal spheres? If you cut those in half, you would get this exact pattern and look. So that is what is on the inside. And a lot of times you don't get both. You get one, either all the bubbly botryoidal formations, or you get the wavelite crystal spherules like that. To see both is makes it a very educational piece for like a before and what's on the inside. And as I turn that, here you go. Look at this. You can see the additional layering, which is also unique, because you have them forming over one another. And if you've seen enough wavelites, that's unique. So see this pattern? That is one on top of the other. That makes it really cool. And as we continue to turn this piece, look at those. Look at those other wavelites. Just like in the material, which tells me that within this, there is probably additional wavelites. Oh, look at this. This is what makes this such a special specimen. You have them on more than one plane. And so many of the Arkansas ones, you just have one flat level of them, the way they remove them. This one, you have multiple sides. So it tells me, you know, that this piece had to have the room for the growth like that. So might have been, I don't know. See, it's not all on the same level. So this is a really unique find. And it is a piece I've had. Look at this. Here's the other side. We didn't even see this. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, that got a wow from Latif. So if you actually pop this little piece off of there, you would see that radial pattern. As you can see, a piece popped off of right there, exposing that. So that is another educational aspect to that, is you get to see what's underneath that, which makes me wonder what's underneath that. We can see also, what would that be? Is there another layer starting right here underneath this other thickness? Probably. You can actually see where some others probably popped off right here, some of the other actual physical crystals. This is a stunning specimen, and for it to come from the National Limestone Quarry makes it more rare than the Arkansas material. Look at that. So you have incredible crystallization, and that's what it is, crystallization on this side, and that side. That is way more than you normally ever see in specimens coming from Arkansas. I didn't even know how to quite display this to where you could maybe take in all sides of it in one view. I didn't really want to put that down on the crystal side down, though it would be safe to. You see the curve in the stand, so your contact point is very limited. Let me see. If we turn it around this way and face it up this way, if we do this now, then you'll know how to do it at home. And see that? So none of the crystals are in contact with it, and the width of it might work. So you may not be able to see all of it, but that is certainly a face worthy of displaying it just like that. That's stunning. You have the botryoidal ones, and then you have the ones that are open. And if you haven't priced wavelite in a while, it's a very valuable collector mineral, and one coming from this location additionally valuable. And I have this priced to sell. It's only $97. I know, $97, worth a lot more. Okay, let me show you. I have another really fun made. Now, if you notice, that was made in the USA, so to speak. This next item is going to be as well. Item number 127, 1525. It almost wasn't, though. When they drew up the border between Canada and the United States, it took a very crafty negotiator who, instead of drawing, the border was originally drawn. And if you know the Keweenaw Peninsula and the state of Michigan, Keweenaw Peninsula is not attached to Michigan in any way. It is across one of the Great Lakes, Lake Michigan, I assume. And by talking them into drawing the border above the island, above the Keweenaw Peninsula, gave the peninsula to the United States. And by doing that, let me show you. This is what we got. We got one of the most amazing, most important locality in the world for pure native copper. This doesn't have to be smelted from a malachite or a cuprite or one of the other copper type ores. It's going to come with a copy of this information. So I'll let you right there for a moment, and then we'll read it. Mining began in 1845 and continued until 1982. And so that's 100 and almost 40 years. That is crazy that they mine. Over 7 million tons of refined copper were recovered from Michigan's copper mines. Imagine that. In the early 1900s, it led the world in copper production, and lake copper was the purity standard to which other refined copper was compared. Long before the mining operations of the past century began in the Keweenaw, prehistoric peoples mined copper from the mineral-rich veins. That's the important key. This copper deposit was known not only to Native Americans, but it was also known to, can't necessarily say Europeans, but more like the Vikings and the Swedes. They and it was later said even the Knights Templar made a trip up the St. Lawrence Seaway. It's totally accessible via waterways to get back to that area. It was this deposit was known for way before quote Plymouth Rock or the United States ever came into being the United States. It had been mined back, they proved, in the 1100s, in the 1200s. I mean, who knows before then? The copper was so evident. And, you know, uh, you had the Stone Age, you had the Bronze Age. You can't much have the Bronze Age without having copper. And so, you know, this was such an important deposit because smelting was a science that hadn't been developed yet. And now, let's take a little closer look because this has more to offer than one. This is all natural. This arborescent feature is all natural, but there's something else. Epidote. There's beautiful green epidote associated with this, and that the copper has actually grown and formed around. Look at that. This is a spectacular piece. If left alone, like sitting in being displayed in your home, in time, you might see some green develop, which of course everyone knows how your finger can turn green from cheap rings and copper, whatnot. Well, what it is malachite. When you have green that forms on there, that's copper carbonate. And those, it's available, the carbon and the oxygen, to create malachite in the environment. So it just needs a little time. Epidote, often found with it. This is a fantastic specimen that displays it well. And I think I'm going to, I don't know. It doesn't fit the stand great. Maybe you could probably find another one. So I'm not that impressed with the way it looks in the stand. Well, if you get it perfect, see how I cover up the back of that? If you get that just perfect, maybe it would be okay. But I will hang on to that stand and let you go to that store named after a guy called Michael's. They have great stands, and you can probably find something wooden or something more appropriate. All right. Now, this is the fellow that actually has a big stake in the QAnon copper is a good friend of mine, and that's where I've gotten these amazing different copper pieces over the years. This is one of the rare ones I had left because I really liked it due to the epidote and due to the shape. So it is a not just your run-of-the-mill. It has the other items that make it special and why I have kept it. So price on this piece is only $48. $48. And I will throw in the stand for that. Now, we'll leave that there for a moment because there's another item that is related, and you might want to pick it up along with it. Item 127, 1625, 127, 1625. Check this out. And I am actually including a wooden stand to go along with that. Boy, Shawn is not cheaping out today all the way. Look at this. Now, this is natural QAnon copper, smelted down and poured into a sphere. And so when they do that, it's not like it's refined copper. Whatever the purity of the copper is, that's what it is. Now, with these copper specimens, including like the bookends I've had before, I have actually seen spots of silver. Silver's known to form along with the copper, as is often the case, and in this case, often big enough to be visible. So you never know what you get when you take the copper and just smelt it into it. I wondered what purity. They said it's some of the highest natural purity there is. You can see it's not just you have a little, I don't know, indentation there. I was looking to see if they poured two halves and didn't. So somehow they poured this into a complete sphere. So there has to be a point maybe right there where the sprue goes. And but I think it's really neat. Look out, it's really heavy, 121 grams in that. And then with that neat stand to go with it. So what a beautiful combination of the two, both being from Michigan. And, you know, again, imagine the value of copper the United States have pulled out of that, and only it came so close to not being part of the United States. All right, so that neat little guy, that will come with a copy of this information card as well, and the wooden stand. So what a neat item if you want to pick that up, because I don't know, you know, copper has really gone up in price. And I imagine there's a lot of effort to just making that sphere in the time it takes to melt it and pour it. You know, so for me to be able to offer it for only $36, I think with the stand, that's a great opportunity for someone. And if you're lucky enough to get both the specimen and that sphere, what a neat combination of the two to have. Got to be quick on the draw. There's only one of them. Okay, now let me show you next. I have so many goodies. I better get on the roll here. Okay, now referencing the pyrite calcite piece, item 1148423, 1148423, that Mr. Brad had mentioned. I'm going to show you a specimen available for sale that is not like what Mr. Brad had mentioned. It is, put the stand in there separate from that. All right, it is similar, but I just wanted to show what he talked about, the piece referenced. Now, it was like a nail, this is nailhead calcite, a nailhead calcite. Let me see, these are actually up on their side, so it's kind of tough to see. Or is calcite that is terminated, has 3 termination planes on the top of it. So here we go. Here's a perfect one. There's 1, 2, and there'd be the 3. Here, there's 1, 2, and there'd be the 3 underneath there. Let me see if we can see one complete. And this is a wonderful, unique phantom type form of calcite where you can see the 2 different colors that have formed in it. Let me see. Wow. That seems like either a twinned one. So you have 1, 2, and the third one buried underneath. So what it is the pyrite has formed, and that's why they're called Mercedes calcites, because it's the pyrite formed directly on top of this juncture between the crystal faces. So you had 3 pyrite formations right along the ridge of the crystal, creating exactly what looks like a Mercedes emblem, hence called the Mercedes calcites. But this, lacking that, also lacks the price of it because it was not inexpensive. This is a beautiful Nailhead, Missouri phantom calcite. And there is hematite as well, which is helping to, well, you can actually see dolomite in there. You can see dolomite in the calcite, and you have dolomite here. You have the rhombohedral dolomites, and you have hematite being red. I'll leave that for you to explore, but if I have it, yeah, it is in here somewhere. So find the hematite. That specimen, here we go. I have that sale priced. How about this? Brad, if you get a Mercedes calcite, then you can put this next to it for being the poor man's version of it. $27. $27. Put that was other. Okay, so now let me show you. Next. This is, oh boy, so many things. Okay. Item 123 1524. 123 1524. This is a ridiculous opportunity that no one has taken advantage of, and I don't understand. I thought sphene was the big deal. And I have a matched pair of sphenes. These are phenomenal gemstones. Sphene, one of my favorite stones, and to me, still one of the most undervalued stones for what it is. I love the brilliance of them. That looks like a diamond. I mean, for the amount of dispersion you can see it even from the backside, the different colors bouncing out of that. And look at how well matched those are. So a wonderful pair of emerald cut sphenes. And of course, what's going to follow that is a sphene specimen. But how about these both sale priced 2 gee, that emerald cut. So figure the price per carat on it. You know, those sphenes like that, it's truly $60 to $100 a carat. So that's why when for both of those, if I offer them for only $44, I know that is 20 whatever dollars a carat. I know it should be each. You're right. It should be each. It should be each. But I tell you what, after that price, if no one gets them, those are going home. To get a matched pair of them like that, it's in that cut. You know, it's one of those, go find another one. You know, just go find another matched pair of emerald cuts like that. So not going to happen. Beautiful stones and incredibly inexpensive price. Now, I said to a sphene, so let me do that. Let's take a look at item number 1270425. 1270425. Okay, so that was Madagascar sphene, right? Well, this next sphene is world famous for the quality specimens coming out of it. And you can see, look at that. This is wonderful greenish yellow. And let me explain this specimen for a moment. And let me first put this up for size. So there, look at that. Look at the difference in variation in the colors of sphene. But look at how brilliant that stone is. I cannot believe that those didn't sell. You're right. They should have been each, and I should have already just taken them home for no one to have bought those. Anyone who collects stones at all should see those as an exceptional opportunity. But that's all I can do is give you the info, tell you what a wonderful value it is. I won't chastise you or make fun of you or tease you about how not smart that is to not get those. Nope, I won't do that a bit. Actually, at that price, I won't anymore. I'm not going to be a salesman on them because I'd rather take them home for that price. Look at this. Okay, this is a twin sphene. A twin sphene. A twin is any crystal that shares a common side with another. So there's no sphene crystal that forms like that without it being a twin, as you can see all the sides to it like that. So that's a fantastic specimen. You have other wonderful sphenes. I hope your color is coming through at home on this because these are a wonderful bright green color tone. And then you have also other sphenes dotted around to this piece. This is a fluorescent calcite too. So these are calcites along here, and they have fantastic fluorescence. Then look at these crystals, completely separate from there and a different form. Calcite, I think, what did I read, has 800 different forms, something ridiculous. So that's why it can look so different in so many cases, even in the same specimen. You have that, but here's what ties it all in together. The fluorescence is identical. And that's how I knew that these were calcites also. So you have a fantastic specimen here, not only for sphene, but for the clinochlore also. The clinochlore is all this bright little metallic looking crystals. Chlorite is a member of the clinochlore family. And you can see just how many there are. And there is other little sphenes dotted throughout the matrix. So this specimen, a wonderful opportunity if you do not have one. This is one of the Pakistani 4 that I had brought and gotten from wonderful Pakistani dealer. And this was the batch of the miner's season that he had mined that I had gotten any. And that's what I've been selling from all these years. And I'm only down to a few of the specimens left. So they were, let me see if I can remember them all now. I usually end up forgetting one of the 4, but not this time. Triplite is one of them, and I offer triplite from time to time. When I do, you need to take advantage of it, because where else are you going to find any triplite? Sphene from Pakistan. Again, something else you don't see. I, went to that one show not long ago, and just to, it was actually for Raven's big birthday. I won't say which one. I think she was turning 30. Um, and I did not see any of the Pakistani forests, so which was triplite, sphinx, pink appetite. Yeah, pink appetite, which I have like almost nothing left of, and the item I'm going to show you next. All right, take advantage of this one because the price of this one, believe it or not, it's $48. I made the prices on these to where there, there's still no room for me to go. That crystal, that size, I'm not going to let it go cheaper than that. $48, there's nothing I could even begin to find at the shows with that kind of quality for only that much money. So, I want you to take advantage of me when I lose my mind and don't really price things the way they should. But there's so many of you. There's literally, you might want to wrap that up, hundreds of you watching and a handful buying. So I don't know how to, I hate to ever beg or ask for sales. Don't normally do that. But for this show to stay here in this day and time, it's going to take some support from you all, and I appreciate all of you who have supported. If you haven't made a purchase but love watching the show, throw me a bone every now and again, and buy something that you can relate to, or if you're into metaphysical things, something you can relate to. We often talk about that. I even do science projects, and we're going to be doing some more of those since we're not doing trivia. That you can do at home, like measuring the voltage of a quartz or tourmaline crystal when you press on it. It's called piezoelectricity. Okay. Wonderful deal on that. Now, let me see. Where was I going? Since we're in Pakistan right now, let me show you. Yeah, right. We're in Pakistan. Just believe you're on the side of a mountain doing a deal with a dealer. And this is what this 127-0325. Actually, Asif and I, he was born in Pakistan, and I had with my mineral dealer. He actually offered to take us up to the mountains to go to the mines and everything, and we considered it until things got different, and we couldn't. But yeah, this guy was set up there. They're like that. They're really friendly, really nice. All you have to do is buy from them, and that's how it works. Makes a big difference in someone in the way they. If you support them, they will take great care of you. Item 1270325. Okay, next. This is the second one of the two of the Pakistani four, the red zircon. Look at this piece. And this is not, now if I'm getting down, remember, to the end of these, that means they are particular specimens that were important to me. What was the price I just made on that sphinx? It was. I read the wrong tag. No, we read the wrong tag. So it was, yeah. Yep, I read the wrong tag. So definitely someone needs to get that one. Yeah, don't miss out. Okay. Now, take a look at this. This is not just your everyday red zircon in biotite mica. And I looked and I checked everywhere to see if this was something different than biotite mica, because the whole piece weighs a lot. But zircon has a heavy specific gravity, and this is just very dense biotite. All right. Now, most all this zircon will fluoresce. So give that a go. Look at this. Look at this. This is very gemmy red zircon. For the zircons that are found there, this is a piece that is really gem quality compared to most of them. You can see the crystallization, which is it looks like bipyramidal. So you can see this comes to a point here. Zircon will often have a little straight portion of the body and then come to another termination at the other end, which could be further down in the body of this piece. Here is a larger representation of that type of crystal. And then all this is zircon as well. This is an amazing piece. Look at that crystal. Look at those crystals. Now, if you wanted to and are clever, you could do what they call specimen preparation on this, and that is peel back the biotite and reveal. You can see there's a face of zircon right here. You can reveal a lot more of the zircon, and that is what is actually goes on with much of this specimen. A lot of it may have been covered over with more biotite, but they go in and they remove it, as which is perfectly fine, which is perfectly acceptable in the trade. Sometimes specimen preparation is a big part of the cost of these expensive pieces, is hours and hours spent in a room with very talented people that can remove surface growths and things that are not appropriate to the look of an incredible crystal. And it's okay. It doesn't affect value or anything, and it just increases the saleability. Look at that. Look at that within that. I often wonder. All right, now, one thing I will tell you about this is there is, remember, it's zircon. When he hears that, when Latif hears that go on, this one's okay. All right, so I have to show you to be straight up. Okay, so this is a Geiger counter, and what you're seeing is the counts per minute. You see the CPM right underneath the number, and that is the ambient regular amount of whether it be radon or the natural radioactivity that floats around in our environment all the time. You can't escape it. You know, ultraviolet light, sun, everything can create it. So you have that piece got near a little bit near, and it went up a little bit. So usually it runs anywhere from 30 to 50, and that's what it's doing in this range. So if I put this zircon in front of that, let's see if it makes a difference. And it does. Okay, so that is only out of transparency. Latif, get back here. And I'm flipping it over now, and let's see the other side. So you have 200, 250 CPM, something like that. Okay, that, or maybe a little bit more. Nah, it's going to stay in that range. Okay, if you have your blue zircon, I know you may not know this, but blue zircon often averages much higher than that. Zircon has rare earth elements in it, and often it can contain one of the naturally occurring radioactive elements, which is thorium-232, uranium-238, and potassium-40. And so when you have a range of 200 or 300, that is negligible. That is nothing you have to ever worry about. But it is a neat property of it, because I think you should know that it has that to it, because that is just another level of knowledge about particular specimens. You have many specimens that are radioactive that you probably don't realize. Now, that said, first, the price on that piece, I am making it a super duper sale price. And if you don't grab it up for this opportunity, I'm not sure what you would be looking for by way of value, because that is certainly worth. And look how large it is. Only $68. $68. Now, so we were talking about, just to use the R word, which I try to stay away from, the radiation. All right, naturally occurring radiation. Now, this is alpha. Most all is alpha radiation, and that can be stopped by your skin. It can also be stopped by a piece of paper for the most cases. But there is also beta and radiation, and that will, shoot through, go a little further. But let me show you what a lot of you don't understand is that many things that you may have laying around, if you collect fossils or minerals, might be radioactive that you have no idea about. Now, I have talked about this next item. It is not for sale, and there's a reason why. All right, no item number to this. This is an educational moment. Get back here, Latif. All right, this is a megalodon tooth. You can tell it's a megalodon tooth because it doesn't have the little other pointed teeth at the end like other cousins of it has. This also has the nutrient hole. That is a natural occurring hole. You want to see that. This actually has the full width of it, and look at the enamel on this, and I like that. Sometimes people would discount that, but that little break in that tooth, that was probably broken biting a bone, another fish, and that's kind of neat because then the tooth has been used. The serrated edge, so I'm just talking about the quality, and the quality of the enameling on the back here is very, very good. Now, the amazing megalodon teeth come from, in the United States, two main places, the Cooper River in South Carolina or Florida. Like in the Peace River, the Myakka River. I've actually canoed both those. I lived in Florida a long time, especially as a teen. So yeah, collected fossils from those places. You can find megalodon teeth and shark teeth anywhere along the beaches of Florida that are fossilized. Now, I was going to offer this for sale, but as standard procedure, I wasn't sure where it was from, but there's a way I can tell whether it's Cooper River or whether it's Florida. And it is easy when you have a Geiger counter, because Florida shark's teeth have a radioactive signature. I'm just going to say it because of the phosphorus in, Florida is one of the largest phosphorus mining. If you talk about mining, Florida mines pretty much one thing, and that is phosphorus for the phosphate industry, for the fertilizer industry, and to make phosphoric acid. As a byproduct of making and mining the phosphorus that Florida is, it's called, phosphate rock, is phosphogypsum. If you have ever been down through the middle of Florida, there is 24 phosphogypsum heap tailings piles, I guess, heaping piles. They are the largest and highest point in Florida are these big, monstrous size, multi-layer leftover spoils of phosphogypsum. And it is due to the process of creating phosphorus, phosphate fertilizers and phosphoric acid. Now, phosphate rock, by its natural, it comes by it naturally to have radon and radium in the rock as minute particles, so to speak. So in the process of it, the phosphogypsum, gypsum is created, gypsum is a calcium sulfate. It is not, and there was a law passed in the 1980s that it could not be used for things such as drywall in your house or other uses. Now, sometimes some places can allow it for use for gravel on the roads, this phosphate rock, and benign things like that. But it was outlawed for use because of the radioactive nature to phosphogypsum. And so that's what they pile up. They pile up the radioactive waste from the process of creating fertilizer and mining the phosphate rock. Therefore, if phosphate rock is inherently radioactive, well, pretty much all of Florida has a phosphate bed to it. And the shark's teeth have laid in that bed over eons of time, or hundreds of thousands of years at least, and sometimes something happens to them, and it would be a radioactive signature. And the Cooper River, South Carolina ones have no radiation to them. Let's see what this one is. So here we have, you see our regular numbers, anywhere 30, 50, right? There we go, 37. And now our tooth. Let's put it in front.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, we're not even close. Now this, this is why this one is not for sale. Look at that, over 800, and my cutoff point is around 500 counts per minute. You see the CPM there? You can hear it ripping. There it is, there's the mark, 1,000. It just hit over 1,000 counts per minute. That to me, if it's in your collection sitting there, look at that. So it's going to average around 1,000 counts per minute. That's a lot. And that may, if you collect megalodon teeth and you have any from Florida, you wouldn't want to wear them around your neck. And you know what? When I did this, it's funny. Of course, who has a bunch of necklaces with shark's teeth? The Raven. So she brought hers out, and none of them were radioactive. So thank goodness. Yeah, because you wear that right over your heart. You wear that right over your heart. So look at that. You're talking about an unacceptable limit for me to offer. If it's in your collection, but I don't know what you're going to do with it. This is small enough. You could make it into a pendant. You know. Just laughing. I know. No, I didn't even see that. No, $1 million. That is great. Chernobyl sharks. Oh my God, that's great. Oh my gosh. Hey, can you take a screenshot of that? No, put the graphic in there and take a screenshot of that. Okay. Yeah, I gotta have that. That's a Chernobyl shark tooth. And for those of you who aren't familiar or maybe too young for the Chernobyl was the world's worst nuclear disaster. Chernobyl was in the Soviet Union at the time, is now part of Ukraine, actually, and it has an exclusion zone of 30 miles around it. The dogs are mutating. A huge number of dogs, they were left over when people had to evacuate so quickly, they couldn't even get their pets. So many of the dogs are lineages of those pets from decades ago. And they're healthy, they're doing okay, but their DNA has been altered. So basically, we're creating mutants. That disaster had. So that is funny. That's funny. That was good. All right. Obviously, and look at the size of it. That's not even big. If that was a 5-inch tooth, it'd be reading twice because this is where it's absorbed, not an enamel. This is where it's coming from, right there. So anybody want a shark? Yeah, and I do wash my hands after that. I do. Yep, I do. So that is why sometimes a Geiger counter pays for itself, especially me offering all these items to you guys. Let me tell you, I check everything. I will not sell. If I do, you know about it, a radioactive item that goes beyond my limit, which is around 500 or 600 counts per minute. So that one, well beyond it. Therefore, it's not for sale unless you were like Matt was, who was a collector and specialized and made special display cases for that purpose. Leaded glass works great, by the way, but that's expensive. So anyway, I thought that you might get an interesting lesson from that because wash your hands after the things you touch or play with. If you have not had your items checked with a Geiger counter, you never know what you're going to get, obviously. So now let me show you another item, 1270525, 1270525. And this is another red zircon. And let me show you this beauty. This is a huge crystal. Look at that. That is a giant size crystal. And wow, beautiful. Another one there. Wonderful crystals throughout. And you can see that this looks like it popped off of the matrix from this side. So just since I know you'll be curious now, let's check this. Since I started something now. See, that's what's surprised, that huge crystal, and that's only 105.99, less than 100. So that is, basically in after what I just showed you, that's benign. That has it's negligible. But that other piece, so it just depends. It just depends from zircon to zircon what other minerals were present that became part of it to make it radioactive. And zircons are well known to have those other inclusions. This one is only $58. Only $58. I highly recommend you get one of these specimens before, well, I don't have any more, and then you won't be able to get any more. Okay, now let me get moving here. Oh my goodness. Okay, item number, let's see. Yep, 1271325. 1271325. One moment here. Okay, now this one you've never seen, but you have heard of the incredible, and since Iran has been so much in the news, this might be a good time to show you a never shown before Belky's Mountain. Look at that. This is one of the finest ones of all of them, and why I have been had that tucked away for my own collection. But I thought, no, I am going to offer something spectacular, and this is spectacular. This is for the world of these coming from Iran and Belkey's Mountain. Look it up. We had actually a great graphic for you showing you that this deposit is up the side of a mountain. It can only be done artisanally by hand, individual miners. Very difficult to get, and it was only found in 2013. All right, you can see these are dodecahedrons with trapezohedron modifications, and I believe what they mean is that little diamond-shaped form there. If you actually remove this crystal, it appears to be a whole crystal, which is really rare. And then let me show you, and if you just follow me there, let me show you if I can backlight this any, the actual green to this piece, which is, it's really, if I can, there we go. You can see, look at the green in that. Yeah. Look at the green. There we go. Look at that green. And that's why I have the mention of the emerald green for that. So then you have additional, look at these well-formed crystals there, and more of them scattered throughout. Look at that. And then the greenish matrix is actually diopside. So this is a really rare combination of well-formed crystals with some amazing color. And yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking, that you could actually take this apart and come out with a few loose, well-formed crystals, which would be kind of neat because as far as a specimen goes, you're not destroying a beautifully formed specimen. Oh, here's the other thing I wanted to show you. That's right. There's orange diopside on this. It's not the green matrix. Look at these crystals. This is orange diopside, making it, look at these along here, making it really a special piece and worthy of bringing out this. Let me see here. Where are they? Okay. So let me bring the light in here, bring this into the light, and look at those. See, they are fully formed crystals of diopside. And then right up here, there's some more right along the edge of that crystal. That was the extra touch to this piece that I really liked. Classic color for diopside from certain locations. This is only $118. $118 could easily be 3 or 4 times that in auction or from a place with a fancier name than me. So take advantage of that guy. Let me keep going here. Let me show you item. Oh boy, hold on. This one. This is super unique. 1270725. 1270725. I've never offered this crystal before. Never offered. Oh, 1270725. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. I should do a what am I on this one because you have not seen it. Look at that. Now, if you ever thought that zoisite was only that beautiful blue color, you're wrong. That beautiful blue color that comes from Tanzania, known as tanzanite, is an anomaly. It is not the norm. The norm, more so for zoisite, is this grayish green color. And the way it looks from the end like that is a perfect form for crystal. This is amazing. It's huge. In the world of zoisite crystals, this is a very large specimen. Let me backlight this. Yeah, look at that. I know, I wondered if I heat treat it, but I already read that heat treating them doesn't do anything, doesn't change the color. You have to have other things about it. I know. I thought about that. Wouldn't that make an amazing blue crystal? But it doesn't do it. It has some other inclusions right in here, another crystal, something you can either figure out, or you can take your fingernail and clean out those areas if you want. This piece, by way of size and by way I was reading about it, is exceptionally large, and even the big auction house considers something like that a very large size and very collectible. And they said, it's the classic color. It's the natural color for zoisite. So that is, if you don't have one from there, which you I'm sure don't, that is at one you can add to your collection and be proud of it. That's a stunning opportunity. Rare size. That's why it gets that mention. $78. Only $78. The value of that could be multiples of it. Multiples. Let's look at item 127-1425. 127-1425. I brought my Galena geode. I don't think I'm going to get time to tell you that story for having told you some others, but we'll get into the Galena geode story. Now, if you're going to go looking for Galena geodes, don't do it. Don't be as stupid as I was. There's no such thing. Okay, yeah, I know. Everyone's going to be laughing, but I do tell the story on myself just so that everybody realizes that no matter how much you know, there's somebody sitting that has nothing else to do with their time that can create a fake that is better than the level of your knowledge to determine that it isn't. And that's a scary thing if I'm saying that. That's a story. Wait till you see it. Wait till you see it. And the story that goes with it. Okay, look at this. Look at this. Who does not love a azurite flower? This is a item that is, again, one of those that are crazy. That's crazy. Oh, isn't that crazy? Did he show you with the picture? Here, with it. Here, put the flashlight on it. Show them the ends of the stalks for what they are. Don't say it out loud. Or say it quiet enough that, okay, yeah, look at the stalks. Okay, look at this azurite. Now, this is an azurite where sometimes the way the crystals grow will form like a flower. This is, you can see close to that in this pattern right here, but it's not exactly like some of the flowers that form, which of course would be very collectible and highly sought after. But this is the next best thing. Look at the azurite. Now, there's no malachite on here, which is really unique. This is from Bubekir, the Oriental region of Morocco, famous for its azurites and malachites. This is a really beautiful, beautiful ball. 34 grams. It weighs heavy and is all azurite. And it's a deal. It's a really good deal. I have that for you for only, remember, azurite, quality azurite, it can get quite expensive. And so this one for only $47. $47. I don't consider that quite expensive. I consider that a really good bargain. Look at the size of that and look at all the crystallization on that. And that can be cleaned up too, I think, some more if you wanted to clean out some of the other material in it. Let's look at 125-7925. 125-7925. Now, this is something that we just talked about a bit ago. But now I have another specimen for you from not Pakistan, but check this out. Now, if you want to be a collector of sphene and have sphene from 2 different localities, is that not showing the green on that screen because of the camera or something?
That monitor is.
Yeah, the monitor. So I just hope people at home can really see the color for what it is. These are some beautiful, beautiful yellow with a little tint of green sphene crystals to them.
Way different.
Yeah.
Looking at it in person.
Right, in person, it's so much prettier than that monitor. So I hope everyone can see that. And look at these quartz crystals. Look at how well defined some of the quartz crystals are amongst the sphenes. And if it looks different, yeah, there's no, it looks different than the other sphenes because it is from another location. So this is from the Ankarafa claim. It has albite, feldspar, and epidote. And lots of crystals to explore. And I have this sale priced now for you. Sale priced down to only $58. Only $58 on that. And again, for Madagascan specimen, it's exceptional and an opportunity for you to get something that it is hard to find, especially if you're collecting different localities. Then that is a real, real plus. Okay, now let me show you next. What is this little jewel? Oh, okay. 1270825. 1270825. Here is a piece of jewelry that, oh, no. I thought it was an aquamarine pendant that I had and was going to show one day, but no. It is an aquamarine. Check this out. Look at this. Look at this. And now this has a incredible clarity and form to it. Like uh, like not unlike others I guess I have seen before, and some parts of it are really gemmy. Let me show you. And then, okay, so look at the termination here. Okay, you can see the end. It's flat, it's bright. So that's the end of the aqua, right? Let's look at this other end. This is actually a termination as well. This is the end of the crystal. So that's the way that crystal was intended to end as well. So you have a doubly terminated crystal, and somehow I guess this portion is what was connected to the matrix. It doesn't look quite like a floater, but nevertheless, the color, all natural, not been heat treated, some very gemmy areas to this. This would make a good wire wrap if it, look at that. If it doesn't sell, this would make, you could carve a piece out of that. That'd be perfect with the unusual shape for carving. Price on this piece, it's an aquamarine. You would expect it to be a lot more than $1 a carat. $64. $64. Only $1 a carat on that one. Exceptional. Now let me show you. Item 1269925. If my eyes, yeah, 1269925. Now speaking of aquas, let's compare these two for a moment, side by side. Here is a specimen. Now, you had this one from Gilgit, which you can really, if you see enough of them, you can tell the difference between origins by seeing enough of them and being able to tell what they look like or the other associated minerals with them. And look at this. This is a Rongo, Namibian, and a classic. Look at all the crystals on this. And then look at all the additional mineralization on this. It has, wow, let me get my pointer. Wonderful, wonderful everything. You have albite, feldspar in the form of clevelandite. You have, look at these additional crystals everywhere here. Look at that. Look at that termination. And that is all shoral tourmaline. Shoral tourmaline through here. Now, I looked for it to be any foytite, and I would not, which is the vacant tourmaline, and which is often found with the Orongo aquas. I couldn't say for certain whether any of these were foytite. Maybe one of you all might be able to do a better job in determining that. I was looking for like a dark lavender or lavender type crystal in there. Didn't see any, but I did see some that were a greenish. It looked kind of like epidote. So it looked like more like a dravite tourmaline in some of these. So just check that out better. Look at some of these are really nicely formed. And then you have some really nicely formed albite crystals here also. This is a wonderful specimen of multiple crystals coming together with a hour's worth of fun exploring this piece. Look at the crystals embedded in the termination at the end. So this is, those are terminated. You can tell by the crystals and the flat finish. And this is terminated. So yeah, not quite sure where this was connected to any matrix, actually. So it could be a floater specimen which is kind of very special in that case. This is an excellent opportunity. It is large, it is impressive, it is valuable coming from that area with all the other minerals like it on it. Price is only $128. $128 on that. Now, let me show you, and let me turn this guy off. I have an amazing specimen here, and with the price of silver just going up and up and up, I can't not believe that item 1233824 has not sold yet. Check this out. Look at this. This is one of the finest silver in matrix specimens I've ever seen. The other neat thing to it is I love the fact that you can pop this top off right here along it if you wanted to. So follow the silver. Silver fills in just like gold in any of the little natural openings or fissures or fractures in the rock. And you have crystallized silver in this piece. The rock weighs a lot more than it normally would due to the silver. Look at this. Look at this arborescent crystallized silver. And again, you see it coming through here. Here's the thing. Why I'm probably just going to do this myself. I think because it's too tempting. I want to just take my tweezers underneath there and pop this whole top up because look at this. Look at silver runs underneath. Look, as we follow this around, look at the silver following this fissure all the way around to here. It would take almost next to nothing. And if I pop that top off and there was nothing but silver crystals underneath it, it would be well worth it. Other than that, you can do it if you want to at home or leave it like it is with wondering, with pondering. You can already see them under there. That guy is calling me. This is a super rare specimen, getting rarer and rarer and rarer from the well-known Imiter mine that's a mile across at the top of the mine. It is a huge mine that has been around, and the silver specimens came out like this all in 1 year a number of years ago. Price on this, I have reduced it. Have I ever reduced it to only, this is the last opportunity on it, to only $224. $224 on that. And that is an exceptional piece for so many reasons. And a choice specimen, especially if you collect precious metal ore specimens. Now, speaking of that, let me show you item number 1271125. 1271125. I couldn't stand it on this one. This guy was calling me. Yes, sir. That is did I read it? 1271125. Look at this. Look at this. Conic calcite. It's one of the most attractive colors there is in different minerals. I mean, it's that bright, 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 beautiful green. Now, this is from the Gold Hill mine. There has been so many different metals that have come from the Gold Hill mine. So let me show you. This guy had a little crack running like that, and I followed it around, and on the back, well, I couldn't take it anymore. I said, what is inside of here? I could see that maybe some other green was inside of there. And I did what I just said you could do on that silver one. I popped this piece off. Now it's part of it. It's going to come with this rock. And you can see there's more green there, but it revealed something. And this is what I talk about. You never know what's inside. It revealed something that wasn't on here anywhere else. Look at that. Can you see that little speck of blue right there? That is worthy of putting a little magnification on that. You got that? Let's take a look at that. Look at that. Look at the crystallization to it. That's chrysocolla. That is the chrysocolla to this piece. If I wouldn't have popped off that piece, we wouldn't have found that chrysocolla. That's what I'm talking about. You never know what forms in these little crevices. All kinds of exciting stuff. So conic calcite, a wonderful mineral. The Gold Hill mine has been closed since 1945. You also have little chrysocolla. See the little chrysocolla forming over the top of the conic calcite. You might also have some gypsum that covers over some of this in specimens I've had before. I've seen that. So this rock lends itself, if you want to explore it, and popping off other pieces just for the heck of it, because I'm pricing it for fun. So you can have fun with it. And that means that I am making it only $28. $28. And let me know if the mine produced gold and silver. If there's any of those in there, I want to cut. The price gold and silver is anymore. Why not? Okay, the next thing I know will be sold. Everybody has bought every one of these. 1270125. 1270725. Let me show you. Let's see. What did I say? 1270125. Look at this. Now, we're talking about different ores, right? So I'm kind of keeping the subject matter somewhat in order, because these were mined for ores. There was silver, copper, arsenic, gold, all kinds of stuff that came out of the Gold Hill mine. And at the end of World War II, the mine was shuttered. This, though, is a treat. Look at this. The real deal cinnabar. Cinnabar. And that is a stunning crystal of it. Cinnabar is simply HGS, mercury sulfide. That is all that it is composed of. And it's kind of crazy, mercury being a silver, or how it gets to be this ruby red color from just the addition of sulfur to it. I don't know how that works. I mean, because mercury in its pure form, of course, from the old, those of you who are in my age group, all of us played with those broken thermometers. I think some of us even broke them to get to the mercury intentionally. Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. I have a pile of mercury I use in my gold retort, or can use if I get enough gold. It's a retort, which is a miniature, best way to describe it is a miniature still. And mercury will convert to a liquid, then to a vapor at a very low temperature, but it combines with gold. So that's what's going on if you hear in South America about the garamperos who are just ruining the rivers and the streams because you make an amalgam. If you have all this fine gold and it's tough to extract and you don't have the expensive equipment that will filter it out and recover it, all you do is mix it with a little bit of mercury and swish it around. And like I have jars of black sand. There's gold. I've looked at it, clean to some of those particles of black sand. If I mix mercury with it, it will combine with the gold. Okay, then you put that gold. The gold will combine with the mercury into what they call an amalgam. So you put that bead of amalgam, no matter how big it is, usually not that much, into a retort and you heat it. The retort will drive off the mercury into a vapor, but it goes through a still-like process. And at the end of it, it drips back out. As it cools the vapor back down, it drips back out as liquid mercury, completely safe and closed system. And what it leaves behind is a gold bullion piece. And it is one of the most beautiful little buttons of gold you have ever seen because it's, high content gold. Anyway, there's systems for recovering mercury. They don't use those systems. They don't do that. That's why also they're getting mercury poisoning and all kinds of other bad things going on. Mercury shouldn't be used. But when I was panning in Colorado, up in these remote mountain streams, mercury is so heavy, it settles, it's at the end of your pan like anything, any other heavy metal would be. And what I found was mercury up in these remote Colorado streams because they use mercury then. Now, when I didn't think about it because I didn't have a retort, so I never did it. But the mercury I saved would, think about it, going down the streams over 100+ years, all the gold that came into contact, it would be pulled into that mercury blob as an amalgam. Who knows how much gold is actually in that little bit of mercury that I found. But that's just goes to tell you how long mercury will stay in the streams, in the systems of fish, etc. So it's one of those bad things that I'm glad they outlawed. All right, this is incredible, beautiful as I looked up at the camera work from telling my mercury story. And Colorado, look at the crystal system to this. This is exceptional. And look at the beautiful white dolomite. There's some more cinnabar. Now, here's the other thing. If you see like carvings or things made out of something called cinnabar, that is not cinnabar. It is a resin, a reddish colored resin and has nothing to do with mercury. It's a synthetic made item, and they could actually cast pieces with it. So anyway, this is one of the last specimens I have for mercury. It's from the Tongren mine, well known for producing amazing specimens. And price I have on this is an opportunity because it's only $58. $58. Look at that crystal. I wish I could make it more now, but I already said the price. I should let Latif do my pricing. Let's look at 1270625. 1270625. This one you have not seen. Actually, all these items are brand new items you have not seen before. Look at this. Here is, you could call this a geode. These form in like bugs, not like complete geodes. They don't form completely around, but they could still somewhat be called geodes. Now, this piece, if you have stilbite, then you want this because it's heulandite. But this is a lesson to teach you the difference between the two because there is some stilbite on here. Now, you have that wonderful, wonderful pinkish color in the heulandite, but there is a couple stilbites in here that if you recognize them, they'll stand out. So let me point them out to you. They still look like the arrow where they come to a point. So you see this one right here. Here's the slope. There's the slope. There's the point. Now here's a better one right down here. There's a stilbite. You can see where they come to a point right there. Now, I think there was one over here somewhere, but let me just show you, since we're running out of time real quickly. The heulandites, they can look like that across the top. They can be saddle shaped. There's another type. Plus, they can be just pointed, but they won't have like that. See that? They're pointed. That's a heulandite. They don't have the straight sides, then the tapered to a point formation like the stilbites. So this is a wonderful display piece. It sits up great on its own, and it's only $58. Yeah, only $58 for that. Wonderful, wonderful opportunity for a beautiful specimen. Now, before, as the clock ticks down, let me show you, I have a specimen that I think it may be the last one I have. 125-7425. 125-7425. This is that rare pink opal. All the blue opal can't get anymore, but the pink opal, there's still a little bit available. And here is a fantastic offering of the pink opal. And you can see that wonderful seam of pink. Now, in between it, see that white? A lot of people don't know that this is cristobalite. Remember we talked about cristobalite? Cristobalite is what is in the snowflake obsidian, creating the snowflakes. It's a variety of quartz with a different crystal form. And then you have your opal. Beautiful pink opal, non-precious, it doesn't have a play of color to it, but it is this, look at that pink. That would cut some wonderful, wonderful stones if you want. If not, it's a beautiful specimen, especially, here's the other thing, palygorskite, in case you saw that and wondered what it was. So palygorskite is another whitish mineral, and you have some of that going on in that there too. Do a little homework on it too. Save me a bit of time. I have this discounted. I have even the mine name for you, and sale priced now for only $58. $58 on that. A wonderful collector's piece. Now let me see. Oh, yep, got a few minutes. I'm gonna use every moment I have. And this is an amazing deal. 124-3725. 124-3725. And I can't imagine that nobody would want a labeled. This teaches you a lot. Bixbyite, same Bixby as Bixbite, the name taken away from the word for red beryl. You have beautiful topaz here, and you have topaz that is included. So you have those wonderful forms, just like you have seen other topaz specimens. It has like a sand inclusion. So these are actually the topaz, but they're beautiful. That you have also the chemical formula, which is manganese and iron for the Bixby, fluorine, and from Colorado. Here, look at those. Look at those perfectly formed Bixbyites. Who, on top of topaz, who would not want this incredible opportunity on that specimen? And it is so inexpensive. I have this for only $38. $38, and that is an incredible opportunity on a unique piece. Now, speaking of unique piece, let me show you if you saw it. Maybe you saw it in the background. I have had this. I've been saving it for a long, long time, and I finally decided I'm going to offer it for sale. This is item number 1270925. 1270925. And having been to Morocco, it was like a souvenir from Morocco, though I wasn't the one that got it there. Got it from there. This is a stunning, look at that, my hand, really a world-class piece for what that is. This is Morocco, from Morocco. It is from the Sahara. Now, they don't know the exact place often in the Sahara because, of course, the Sahara, the sands move. Some of the information, this is a floater. So this, on every side, you can see it was not connected to any matrix wall. And what these did or do is, within the desert sands of the Sahara, you have gypsum crystals that form. And in the process of forming, there's nothing but sand around. They absorb the sand as the gypsum grows freely within the desert sand and picks up sand within the crystal system, creating this amazing rust-colored formation. Now, here's the neat thing about this one compared to others. This has unique crystal forms that you don't find. You obviously can see why it's called desert rose, because there's a portion of this that looks very much like a rose flower. There's other portions of it that are much more rare and unique than, see, there you can see the rose formation than some of the other formations of this material. Now, as the desert gets closer to Algeria, the rust color becomes more of a white sand. This rust colored is more iron oriented and reflects the color of the Sahara sand in this particular location. Now, these are kind of found throughout the Sahara in different moving locations, it seems to be, because no one seems to ever pinpoint it down except for the region that it's found in. So like this, I love this even side crystal. Look at that out there like that. This is completely crystalline. It is a large cabinet size, cabinet quality. It's phenomenal out of all the ones. Yeah, so I have additional information. Our food circle and the Dra Tafele region. Price on this one, I have it marked exceptional opportunity. This is a great like entrance for a display piece. It's just very showy. $148. Only $148. A really showy piece. Now, we may have to end it on this next item. We'll see how quick I can show it to you. It is a deal. Item 121 9324. 121 9324. And it is that, look at the colors go. Look at how these colors go together. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, the reds and the greens. That is that amazing fibrous malachite that I still have. Only one, nicest one I have. That, look at that. That is stunning. It is so cool. It looks like the micro suede material that was so in. Look at that. Look at that. This entire piece. Now, those are all crystals. All crystals. And when you look at some of these really close up with magnification, you can see individual ones that are, you know, look like facet grade quality. This is, it's heavy. These are collection specimens, over half a pound. And I have the exact mine that it had come from. And I don't know, it almost looks like a floater. I don't see anywhere where it was attached. But if you break it, I'm sure the inside looks just as much as the outside, so it might be difficult to tell. I have this sale priced right now, which I shouldn't, because there's no way I could come close to replacing it. It's only $118. $118. That would easily be a piece 2 to 3 times that amount. And with the, let me see quickly behind me. Well, so much more I could show you, but the clock has timed out on me. So we'll get to the last item of the show, which I have, I think, right here. Let me always, tough decision, because there's usually so many fantastic things here to feature, and pieces that have been passed up, which I'm always quite surprised, because there has been some wonderful, wonderful items that I thought for sure you guys would have taken advantage of. But let me show you one more. Let's see. It was between, well, okay, let's look at item 1192524. 1192524. I have finally decided that this incredible emerald I am pricing to move. This is a high vanadium, no fluorescence. Yes, sir. That number is 1192524. And I have this at a huge discount relative to the value. I hope you can really see the color for what it is. This is a Zambian emerald, and it has a different color than other emeralds, as you might expect. But look at that stone. Look at that. That is still a beautiful, beautiful gem, and in the emerald world, relatively clean. And if you have emeralds, you can't really compare colors and quality unless you have emeralds from other locations. This stone, beautiful. If you're a cutter, you could actually recut it. There's lots of depth to it to improve upon it. It's just as a native cut. Look at how shallow the crown is. In other words, the part from the girdle, hold on, the part that goes from the girdle to the table. Let me just show you how narrow that is. It's almost non-existent, but they were able to put facets there. Better to have cut the pavilion. Look at that. Look at the crown from the girdle up. That's, I don't know how they did that. That had to be cutting in the 5 to 10 degree range, which is really difficult. But there is lots of depth there to cut a brighter stone, which I may very well do. If it does not sell, because this is the last price I'm making on it, if it does not sell this price, there's no way I would sell it cheaper. It has cryptic iron in it, so it floats and is able to be pulled by a magnet. So that means the iron in it is what they call cryptic iron. So there's so little, but it quenches the fluorescence. So there's no fluorescence. So there's a very little chrome. So you have that different, unique color due to a high vanadium content. And it can only be floated to be pulled by drag by a magnet if you float it. So it takes away all the drag. And that's always neat to see that. So that is what they call cryptic iron, iron that just is very minorly associated in the formula of it. All right. So I had this extensively, well, priced in the range it should have been. But how about this? I am marking this one down now for as a final price of only, this is ridiculous. So it's 2.70 carat. So if we make it, yeah, $135. That's $50 a carat. $135 on that. And hold on, let me think for a minute here. I tell you what, we're gonna go with Brad's numbering system from the Grateful Dead song 11, which would make this one now $111. $111. There we go. That fulfills the 11 mark, I think, in a very generous way. Someone should take advantage of that opportunity. And with that, that will be the last item of the show, because Chuck has to go, unless I don't think Lateef can find any more time either. But you never know. For now, I'll be back to say goodbye. That's all, folks. Unfortunately, and I could just keep going because I didn't get to any of the neat items on the backdrop except this one. So, this is for the amount of money, the very little bit amount of money for the look. And remember, it's just not a few crystals like you see some of the other pieces coming out of there. This is a major size piece, and the great shape, by the way, because it's easy for those crystals to get broken in the desert sands, and they're an unusual formation. I'm just saying, it's not really neat. I liked it, and it's compared to some of the ones I had before that I sold many, many, many years ago. None of them were this size. It's one of the biggest ones. So, okay, no trivia to do. I may do a what am I if I can get enough things together next weekend. But please, if you want, send in your comments, Shawn@gems.com. Simple as that, Shawn@gems.com. Remember, this show is part of Gem Shopping Network, which is 24/7. So if 3 in the morning you want to wake up and you want to watch the show, there is not only the current ones that come out every Monday, but there is the archive ones. Write down the item number. And if there's something that you see, okay, so here's how it works. These items, they'll go into the inventory department from this particular show. They're held for 2 to 3 weeks to give everyone an opportunity to see the show and buy the items. Now, then they're giving back to us the items that don't sell. So at some other point, I may re-showcase them at a lower price or et cetera. But when you call in and you have an item number, if it's been 3 or 4 weeks ago, then they'll just tell you that the system will show it's not available. It's not necessarily sold, but it's not necessarily not available. It means it's sitting in my office ready for you in the middle of the night to make that call and be able to purchase something. If they say it's, not available, then just have them either ask them to check for availability that's not in the computer, so that they'll create a work order or whatnot, or a memo, and ask me about it. Or you can just ask in this show, is such and such an item available? Description of it, better than a number, will tell me more, because I know pretty much by description every item we have. Pretty much, yep. Because remember, every item we have, for the most part, is every item that was part of my collection or something I'm very closely attached to, as you can see by my passion in describing some of these items. So, all right. All that said, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your Monday and your week, and gets through this heat wave we have coming up if you're in the part of the country that is going to be roasted by it. So tune up those air conditioners, change those filters, and stay cool, man. Peace out. Love y'all. See you next Monday.